only on Court TV.
Hello, welcome back to Court TV Live. I'm Michael Ayala. While we were in the break, Brooks held up another sign. They couldn't quite make it out, but the judge did say that she was getting to the sentencing portion of her soliloquy, of her comments. So they took a slight break, so they're going to bring him back in for that part. So that's what you're seeing now. They're getting him, he's getting his stuff together. He's being brought back into the courtroom. Right after the break, it was going to be a short break, 5-10 minutes or so, and she will deliver the sentencing portion of her comment. So right now, we're going to keep an eye on that. As soon as they get going again, we'll take you back in there live for that. But let me take this opportunity to bring in my guest for this hour. With me is litigation trial attorney Rich Schoenstein. Rich, great to see you. Thank you so much for joining me this evening. Truly appreciate it. And, you know, I said earlier, you could feel the passion. This judge is a part of that community. She wanted to make sure to keep the focus on these victims, acknowledging their courage, their testimony, doing as many as she could. She could certainly not mention them all, but your thoughts on her comments thus far?
What tremendous empathy from this judge. I think it's really remarkable, and you don't usually see this kind of thing from a judge, but she sat through this trial. She sat through the horrific testimony about what happened that day and the carnage. She sat through the victim statements, which were compelling and heartbreaking, and she's really been affected by it, you can tell. And she wanted to acknowledge those victims, and she wanted to acknowledge the other people who were at that parade, who were hurt, and the family members who have been left behind. And I think she's really gone out of her way to do that in striking fashion.
You know what's interesting, and you made a great point. Judges don't often do this, and I think our viewers who watch Court TV regularly know that this is something special going on. And what's interesting is a lot of the victims in this case sought to recognize the way she handled the case, even recognizing the fact that she was even respectful to Brooks in this case. And I feel like, Rich, she was a real beacon for everyone, the victims who are suffering still. It hasn't even been a year since this thing went down, and she was a real beacon for everyone in the courtroom, and a great example of what justice should be all about.
Grace under pressure.
Mm-hmm.
Handling this trial with this defendant was one of the hardest things I've ever seen a judge had to do. I know people sometimes criticize her. She didn't have enough control. She didn't put him out of the room soon enough. She put him out of the new room too soon. I think all of that is ridiculous. She got this trial where it needed to be. She saw it through to the end with everything he threw at her and the court. And now what she's doing today, I think she's going out of her way to acknowledge the victims, in part because of all of that nonsense.
Yes. I agree 100%. And, you know, hindsight is 20/20. We can all look back and say, oh, she didn't do enough, she did too much. But at the end of the day, she was managing her courtroom, and she was walking a thin line, Rich, because she had to make sure that justice was done. And that included keeping him in the courtroom as much as she possibly could to make sure that the record was clean. She kept citing everything she did. She had precedent to cite why she was doing what she was doing. She needed to keep the record clean to make sure that this thing does not get thrown back in appeal in any way.
That's absolutely right, Michael. She had to protect the record. She had to protect the verdict. She is about to issue an incredibly harsh sentence. I expect multiple life sentences, and she has to protect that from appeal. And the only way to do it is to make an ironclad record that this defendant was given every opportunity to defend himself, given every opportunity to behave, given every opportunity to participate. Everything was explained to him. He was competent. She put all of that and more on the record. I think she did an outstanding job, and I think this record is going to be safe from appeal.
Yeah, and I want to take a quick listen to, now Brooks rambled on earlier on. He called 3 witnesses earlier. He called his mom, he called his grandmother, he called a friend as well, who tried to focus in on mental health issues. He took the opportunity to talk a lot of things. He talked for almost 2 hours, but he did focus in at one point. It was a big misstep as far as I think everyone is concerned, and focused in on the prosecutor, Susan Opper in this case. Let's take a listen.
I felt a lot of frustration and anger yesterday, not towards any of the victims. It was towards Miss Susan L. Opper. And I won't even throw shots back at her. Again, I choose to take the high road in spite of the clear language that was used by her. I'm not gonna fire back. I'm not gonna do that. Am I angry? Hell yeah. Hell yeah. But so what?
Oh, you know, Rich, it shows the narcissism that we're dealing with. The judge dealt with it and said she was not doing anything that she wasn't supposed to do in terms of making a record for the sentencing. She also addressed, she said, you know, I don't want anyone to think something was missing in this trial, and addressed the mental health issues. I really love that part.
A rambling, ponderous diatribe. He's angry? Listen, the only thing that helps if you're making a statement, if you're facing sentencing, is to accept guilt and to ask for forgiveness and to express remorse. He did none of that. He said he was angry. That's ridiculous. That was unhelpful. He went on far too long. I don't think he could have done anything today after all his shenanigans to move the needle. But what he did, if anything, was counterproductive.
Yeah, it was all counterproductive from day one to the end. He didn't change. He kept it together for the most part. We were just showing folks a live shot of the courtroom. The judge is back on the bench, but we are coming to the top of the hour. We are going to take a break, but I promise you, you won't miss a thing. You know, when we come back, we'll pick it up right where we are. You won't miss the sentence. She's been going on, and she's getting to the sentencing phase. In the next hour, again, we'll take you back to court for Darrell Brooks' sentencing. We're just moments away. Judge Dorough is on the bench, so we'll take this opportunity, step away when we come back again, right back into that courtroom. Rich, thanks so much. We'll see you in a minute.